Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's Startup Story. My name is Elise Bortolato with the Emerging Enterprise Center, a nonprofit business incubator part of the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. So every brand has a story, and today we're really excited to be talking with Rebecca Styn, the co-founder of Room 33, a speakeasy in Erie, PA, and the founder of Blind Tiger, which is a spirits-free, all-natural organic beverage that mirrors some of the classic cocktails that are found in the 1920s and 30s. So thank you for Rebecca for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So for anyone who's kind of tuning in and has never heard of Room 33 and Blind Tiger, would you just kind of share a little bit more about your two companies?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, we're in Erie, Pennsylvania, in the northwest corner of PA, and we're right on the water, which is great. But Room 33 is a speakeasy style restaurant that we opened back in 2017. What had happened was my husband and I had both run for political office. We both did not win, but investment in our downtown area was really important. So I'm a big proponent of economic development, community investment, just everywhere, but obviously where we were at the time. And we decided to kind of put our money where our mouth was and open this restaurant. But we wanted it more unique than what Erie had seen. And we had been to various speakeasies all around the country, and we really liked, the concept. And so we decided to develop one that looks like a little bookstore when you walk in, and then you go through a bookcase to get into the restaurant. So the restaurant is a marriage of pre and post Prohibition. 1933 is when Prohibition ended. So we kind of take the before and after aspects of it. And then we have drinks that are named after famous gangsters. We have like a huge floor to ceiling original painting of Al Capone. We do silent movies, live jazz and blues music. It's just it's a lot of fun. So how that kind of segues into Blind Tiger is we fast forward and it's a pandemic, and in Pennsylvania, all restaurants were mandated to take out only. And I'm pretty sure you guys experienced it there on your end as well. But in PA, you were not allowed to sell alcohol to go at the time. And at that moment, our restaurant was really more of a bar. 90% of our sales were bar sales. So we kind of had to pivot and adapt. And one of the concepts that we came up with was bottling non-alcoholic versions of our classic cocktails. And we had a really great response to it. So I just literally woke up one morning, was like, I wonder if I can commercialize this in some aspect and get these on the shelf. Like, it wasn't a lifelong dream. I never have like these grand visions way ahead of time. It's just like these ideas just pop into my head and I just see if they work or not. So this one was actually, I went to the team and said, why don't we focus on our brand, which is Prohibition? And I asked them to come up with 4 or 5 classic cocktails, and they did. And I just learned the process as we went along, working with a beverage engineer and finding co-packing and learning the ins and outs of everything that you could possibly imagine that's tied to consumer packaged goods is overwhelming and amazing at best. So yeah, that's kind of how we launched. And that was just in August of 2020, but our first product came out in April of 2021.
So I feel like this series normally focuses on local Delaware businesses, but you guys are a local regional business, and I actually think that your story is really impactful. Going back to that process, so that learning process, and I wanted to kind of unpack a few of those things that you did learn. So I feel like I feel like a lot of, like you said, a lot of our restaurant industries did get hit. And I feel like Pennsylvania even had a little bit more restrictions than Delaware did. I remember us going to PA and we're a little taken back about still some of the restrictions that were being put on restaurants at the time that were not, we had loosened up a little bit in Delaware. So I was kind of hoping that you would talk about what it is that you did learn, like walk people kind of through some of the steps of, someone who's not part of the beverage industry. Where did you kind of start your journey, and where did you learn? Where did you go to find those resources to connect with the right people?
Sure. So throughout the course of my career, I had been connected in various ways through our Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership. I had very close connections with the team there. And then we have a company called Ben Franklin Technology Partners that offers funding and assistance to startup companies that are focused in technology and manufacturing. I had been in the entrepreneurial sphere. I was a director of a nonprofit that supported really early stage entrepreneurs for a little bit. So I really got to be able to learn and navigate that landscape, which is not an opportunity a lot of people have. But that being said, I think it's valuable to point out, to establish the relationships that you can, that in your communities with your chamber or with your different partnerships that actually help companies grow. So what happened was, obviously I wanted funding, and because I had already started the restaurant and I really just didn't want to take a loan out. And there was a competition that was called the Big Idea through Ben Franklin Technology Partners, and they service all of Pennsylvania, not just Northwest PA. And it was a $50,000 prize, but they really wanted it to tie into either manufacturing technology, but also have an economic development component to it. So I'm not sure what Delaware has like we do, but Erie has what's called the Erie Forward Plan. And part of that plan, one of the things they see in the trajectory of our future is to develop more manufacturing in the food and beverage space. So I did a lot of research in that area to kind of see the needs that could tie, to the future of our community, and learned that it might be great to have a co-packing facility here someday. So that's my long-term vision, is to create a co-packing facility that can support the efforts of our community. But I'm sure you guys have like different ideas that entrepreneurs could attach themselves to learn, to see what kind of the growth plan is for you guys. And so yeah, the process was, there were a lot of people, there's not a lot of people in Erie that are in that space. So I kind of had to go outside, but thankfully I had connections that had connections. And I really just started asking a lot of people, who they knew, what they knew. And a big resource was actually LinkedIn, of all places. I connected with a ton of people in that arena, and also in learning about the process as we went along. So I mean, I had zero experience in the beverage space, in the beverage packaging. There's in the process of what we create, there's a million different types of fill processes, right? So with our beverage, it's a hot fill, quick pasteurization process, which is much different than a distillery process or a wine process, and everybody was offering up the tools to use their facilities, but you couldn't. So I really had to kind of do a ton of research on the back end on my own. And I was thankful to have those connections. So my biggest piece of advice is to connect with the people around you in these arenas, because they always know somebody that can kind of help you establish, where you want to go.
So for someone who is I've watched your process. I follow you guys on Facebook. So I know that you guys opened your speakeasy, I believe, in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the pandemic hit, and you guys had to pivot and be really creative in your team to create these beverages that still are on brand. How long did it take for the idea to final product to then starting to actually get on shelves?
It really, probably less than a year. But I pushed it. Like, I knew when I started, I don't like to, I'm very impatient, right? But I understand at the same time, I also am I'm at the whim of others to get things executed at times. But we started probably back in August of 2020, because at that time we didn't know what the future of the restaurant industry look like, right? We were still kind of half shut down, and they kept shutting us down through, all the way up until the new year. So we didn't want to kind of take our chances, and that was just an alternative pathway for us to move forward. So thankfully, I was able to find a beverage engineer. And what happened was, we had our team actually come up with the recipes themselves. So they were developed by in-house. And then we sent our recipes to the engineer, who then modified them using natural and organic ingredients so that they would align with exactly what the flavor profiles were. And she, obviously she had a ton of knowledge in the industry as well. So that was
So for someone who's never been in this industry, what is a beverage engineer? What role do they play in your company?
they're the formulation developer.
Okay, wonderful.
They ingredients and they modify them so that they're suitable, to be processed in whatever process that they're doing. So yeah, so that went until about Christmas. And then I contacted 60 co-packers all over the United States to try to do my fill because there was nobody here locally. And I had zero luck with it. Either they didn't have our capability or they couldn't fill the particular bottle type I wanted, or their minimums were so high that out of the gate I had to spend like $35,000 to $40,000 of product before I got any commitments from anyone too. So that was fun. And then but I serendipitously, go ahead.
Not to jump in, but like to take a step back, this product minimum is a thing. So where did you actually find someone who can do kind of smaller quantity size to kind of help you guys get started?
Yep. And that's what so I serendipitously found this
Oh,
consultant,
perfect.
yes, who was based in Ohio, and he has been in the industry, and he works with multiple co-packers, and he happened to have one that does do this process on a small scale. Now, whether or not she'll be able to, hopefully I'll continue to grow because my hope is to be national, at least in some capacity, but I'm not sure how far she'll be able to take me. But, it's been wonderful to have somebody that wants to work with small businesses like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you said that your that contact who was able to do those small quantities actually got you that next contact too.
Yeah.
So that's also really important. So actually I was just we have a comment here that Wilmington kitchencollective.com is where Delaware goes for their for their beverage and food needs. So I'm just
Okay.
gonna put that in the throw out. So one of the things that I have enjoyed also watching you guys, and it goes back to a little bit of that funding
Mhm.
piece. Like you said, you didn't want to take out that business loan. I feel like there's a lot of startups, no matter the industry, that do not want to kind of take out that
Sure.
loan. So you went for it's kind of like a competition-ish
Yes,
for the Franklin Institute competition. And then I also feel like you did a crowdfunding campaign.
we did. But it wasn't for money. It was for money, but you got product in return. We did a Kickstarter campaign as
Like
well.
pre-orders?
Yes. So when we did that, that was back in April of 2021. So they were the first ones that got bottles. So that was yeah.
What was that experience like? Do you feel like that was a huge benefit to your business to have those pre-orders in, know that you already have those sales kind of ready to go? Is there any lessons or pieces that you learned through that process of using something like Kickstarter?
Yeah, I have actually used Kickstarter several times in the past with other entrepreneurs. So it's something that I've been learning, over the last several years. I think it's a really great tool. What ended up being a challenge for us, and these are the things you don't really think about, right, is that our first bottle that came out, we have two sizes right now. We have a 32 and a 16 ounce, but they're glass bottles. And I pushed it as far and wide as I could get it, but you don't take into account shipping glass bottles, and the timelines and making sure you can stay on top of that type of stuff. So it's really beneficial to really think through what you're offering before you actually put it out there. And obviously, there are a lot of people that do these types of campaigns too that don't necessarily have something there's a crowdfunding opportunity, but Kickstarter isn't really the right space for them. But there's other alternative spaces for them to raise funds as well.
Yeah, I think crowdfunding is a great solution for just one of those additional startup funding ideas. So I actually wanted to go to you had your product, and then I was actually going to say, like, if you were to look back at your time, like if you were to start again, is there anything that you feel like you would have done differently?
I wouldn't have known, even if I wanted to, right? Like if I look back, I have made a million mistakes since I've started. It's simple as something as the labels. Our first round of labels weren't up to temperature. I didn't know that, right? Like when I sent him off to a printer who'd only ever worked in the wine business, he used a glue that they use on wine bottles all the time. But So my first batch of bottles that came out were all the labels were all like, puckered, and they just looked terrible. And but I had spent so much money on it, and I needed to get the product out and get people to try it. But I wish I could have done that, with a better looking product, as that was like the next run. But even when I look back on it, I still wouldn't have known what I wouldn't have known, right? Like, it's a great lesson for me moving forward, but it's just kind of part of the journey.
Well, it's also, they say like wisdom only comes through mistakes.
Right.
So I actually, it's kind of interesting. I would imagine that when you did get those labels back, like some people feel like, did you get that anxiety of like, maybe I shouldn't do this? Is there any like, did you have any of those
Oh,
moments of like, this is just not going to work out?
yes, I still have moments like that, like today. But of course, I mean, I don't want to know the entrepreneur that doesn't have those moments either. I question everything all the time, and it's a very isolating journey too for a lot of entrepreneurs, because many times you're in the space alone. And even though I had a team that kind of helped develop things, I've been driving it, and the one who gets all the feedback, who puts everything out there. And there was, we did get a lot of pushback on the initial round of labels. We did get some pushback on some of the formulation. Like, there are people that love our product, and then there are people that are like, yeah, this is nice, but everybody's tastes are so distinctly different. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. So that's why there's a million different offerings in this space, and every food space. So
Uh, Actually, I was going to market.
okay. Yeah.
I actually think that again, I'm watching you guys online. I've seen kind of like your small buildup to getting into retail stores. Do you think there was if you were to, any one thing you've had felt is like the best return on your investment in terms of like, it doesn't matter if it's tabling at market, fairs, or standing at retail stores and having the taste testing? What is it that you felt have gotten the best return on your time and investment?
I think being able to, so we took three angles in going to market, right? We did the e-commerce side, we did retail, and we did distribution. And I really have been pushing for distribution, because that helps me, right? Like, distributor then takes it and pushes it out to retail for us. And so I had consultants along the way who taught me a lot of things, outside of our area here, that I would say have been most imperative to the solutions that I've come up with so far, or the answers that I found. But I really do think that it's been I think that that is the way to go if you want to go national, right? Like, if you're great with being local or regional, the e-commerce front and everything is great, but it can be a hindrance in shipping. You just learn so many things when you're doing the process.
So talk about this regional push. What is your kind of plan looking like over the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Sure. So when I started, I was like, I'd be happy if I could get in Pennsylvania. And then one of my consultants had made a connection in Ohio. So my first distributor came in Ohio, and the consultants I'm working with, we have a focus right now for mainly on the East Coast, but really kind of starting regionally and trying to spread out from there. There's a company called KeHE, and it is, one of the largest natural and organic distributors in the country. They have 18 different distribution centers all around the nation, and they service 30,000 retailers. And they did a call for diverse companies. It was called the Diversity Trend Finder event. And what they did is you had to fill out an online application, and then they received, I would say like 1,000 or so applications, and then they chose 200 people to pitch. And of those 200 people, 20 were chosen to be part of KeHE. So our company was chosen as one of the 20, where we can be with KeHE, and there's a lot of opportunity and benefit of having that relationship. So with me, though, one of our goals is in 2022 to start along the East Coast and try to push out to different retailers that KeHE works with, in hopes that we can get into distribution that way.
So Delaware will be seeing you guys soon.
That's my hope. Yes.
Right. And also, Pennsylvania's our neighbor. So if anyone's interested,
Yes.
they can always pop up to Pennsylvania, take a little day trip. So I actually kind of wanted to go through, is there any like, honestly, lessons learned, aha moments, things through this process that you've learned about yourself, about this industry, what you wish you kind of would have said, can tell yourself, your future self through this kind of process?
Yeah, I think that I mean, I learned as much criticism I have taken over the course of my lifetime, it still doesn't get any easier, but it is a necessary component of building resilience and long-term success. Like I think getting all the feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly, really kind of gets you to a place where you learn the most about yourself and allows you to be, like I said, more resilient to opportunities that or not to challenges that come your way and open to opportunities that come your way. I don't I've always also been the same person who wouldn't change my past because I think that's what has created where I am today. And, I don't while lessons learned are imperative, I think that I get the most from my failures more than I do from my successes. And I kind of, while I'd like the successes to be a little bit more in the future, I think it just brings a lot more insights for me, to the table. So that's, really important to me, I guess. I was going off. I don't remember where I was heading.
No, that's fine. So it's those kind of questions are hard. It's really just kind of figuring out, like, if there's someone that is watching this and is interested in actually starting either speakeasy, or a brick and mortar restaurant, or a product, beverage or food product, and just kind of learning through you what they where they should start, what they can, maybe expect, maybe what they should be expecting and preparing for.
Yeah.
That's what that's about.
One of the things I think is essential for any want to be entrepreneur out there is you don't have to have a very lengthy background or, an innate understanding of what you always want to get into, right? Both the speakeasy and the beverage arena were brand new to me when I got into them, and I kind of learned them on the job. But I surrounded myself with people that knew and listened to them. And I think that's the most essential part. As long as you have the passion for it, and it is something that you're really interested in, don't think that you can't do something just because you haven't spent your life doing it.
Well, I'm looking forward to actually popping into that speakeasy. So I'm actually originally
Yes.
from Cleveland. So uh, every time we kind of go that direction, I've thought about, like, popping in. Then the pandemic hit, and it was a little more challenging. But we will be popping in and seeing your
Good,
speakeasy,
good.
um, and looking forward to when your beverages come down to Delaware.
Yes.
So for those who are interested in learning a little bit more about who you are, maybe learning more about Room 33, popping in, maybe getting to taste your beverage, where can they go?
Yeah, so, well, Room 33 is obviously in Erie, PA, but if you wanna check us out online, it's just room33.bar, BAR. And then if you wanna learn about Blind Tiger, we're pretty much on most social accounts, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and it's all Blind Tiger 33. Like, we kept the same number, trying to carry that through. We also I mean, we are also, for smaller retailers that might be interested in having our product, we do go through Faire as a wholesale website, FAIRE. There's been a lot of opportunity there. So we've popped up in great little shops all around the country, because of that as well. So, but yeah, I mean, we can be found, and then our website is blindtigerspiritfree.com.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I love kind of learning a little bit what's going on in our region. And again, just to reiterate, for those looking to visit Room 33, Room 33 is located at 1033 State Street in Erie,
Yes.
PA.
Yes.
Or you can visit room33.bar. Again, that link is, or that URL is in the bottom of this video. And then you can also visit www.blindtigerspiritsfree.com to purchase Blind Tiger online, which is, again, a non-alcoholic spirit. Or you can also learn to see where you can buy it in stores from their website.
Yes. And if anybody watching this is interested in purchasing, just send me a message on the website and I'll send a free shipping code their way.
Okay. And also make sure to go and follow Rebecca on LinkedIn. All right. Well, thank you so much again for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. And we look forward to continuing to watch your journey.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.